All right, so now we're going to start on our Glozzom theme, and this is going to be a multi-page theme. We'll have multiple HTML files. We're also going to have a carousel. So in this video, we're going to do the nav bar along with the showcase area, which will actually be a carousel with some background images. So let's get started by just creating a new folder called Glozzom, Glozzom. And we're going to just do what we've been doing and grab the Bootstrap 4 boilerplate and take those files and paste those in. And then I'm just going to go in the images folder and grab the project images. So we want the Glozzom images, which have the carousel images along with some of the other inline images that we'll be using. Whoops, what did I just do? Didn't mean to do that. I just want to copy these and paste those in here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll open this Glozzom folder up with VS Code. Okay, and we'll open up our index HTML, and I'm going to open it with live server and just bring that over so we just have a blank page for now. All right, so first thing we're going to work on is the nav bar, which is usually the case because we usually have the nav bar at the very top. So we're going to get rid of the start here, and let's put in our nav tag, and we want a class of nav bar, and we're going to do a nav bar expand, and we're going to do a small expand. So when it's a small screen, that's when the responsiveness of the nav bar will kick in. We're also going to say nav bar dark, which will actually give it light text, because the background is going to be dark, so we want to do BG-dark. Okay, so in here we want to put a container so that all of the links and stuff are pushed into the middle. We want our branding, so we want a navbar brand class here for this, and we're just going to have this go to the home page, which is index.html. As far as the text, it's just going to be Glozzom. And underneath the A tag, we'll have our button. This is going to be our collapse or our toggler. So we're going to have a class of navbar-toggler. And then we need to add an extra attribute of data-toggle. And we're going to set that to collapse. And then we need a target, so data target. And we'll set that equal to, let's say, navbar collapse. And inside here, we want our icon, which we get by using a span with the class of navbar-toggler-icon. Okay, and that'll give us our button. So underneath the button, let's put a div, and let's give this a class of collapse, which will hide it initially. It also needs the navbar collapse class, and we're going to give it an ID of whatever we put above for the target, which in this case is navbar collapse. And then inside here is where our UL will go, our unordered list, with a class of navbar-nav. And we want to align it, so I'm going to use margin left auto. And then we just want to put our links, so let's do li.nav-item and emit. That'll give us a class of nav item. Now, since this is a multi-page theme, each page is going to have an active link. So this is going to be the home link. So I'm going to mark this with the active class. And inside here, we want an A tag with the class of nav-link. And we're going to have this go to index.html. Okay, so these links will actually go to separate pages rather than just, hash values. And then let's just say home. So for the rest of the links, we'll just copy this li. So that's 1. We want 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 5 pages. This actually, we want to get rid of the active though. So I'm just going to highlight this and Control D to select the rest of these actives and just delete. Okay, and then this here is going to be for the about page. So about HTML, we'll say about us for the text. This will be the services page. So here we'll say services, and then this will be for blog.html. We'll say blog and contact, and this will say contact. Okay, so that should be our nav bar. So let's save it. We can take a look and it should look like this. Just a very simple, basically like a default nav bar. Now I do want to do a couple things in the CSS. So I want the nav links to be uppercase. I also want to add some padding to them, change the font size. I also want to make the active link, and if you look now, the active is just white. I actually want to put a border to the left of it, to whatever link is active. So let's go to our CSS, style.css, and let's add .navbar, and we want to target the nav link. Now in the last project, the Mizuxe project, we actually used Sass, and if you guys want to use Sass for any of these other projects, feel free to do so. You know, it's the same setup. You want to do the same, putting all the SCSS files in, and then running Koala or whatever you want to use to compile the Sass. And feel free to do that if you want to use nesting and variables and things like that. Okay, but I wanted to just kind of give you one Sass project, and then it's up to you if you want to use it, if you want to keep on using it, because I imagine that some people don't want to. So let's set the font size of the link. I'm going to say, we'll use pixels here. We'll just say 14 pixels, and we'll say text transform. We're going to set it to uppercase. We're going to set the padding left to, let's do 1 rem, and padding right 1 rem. And then for the active class, so we'll say .navbar, nav item, and we want the active class that's attached to the nav item. So .active, and then we want to do border left, and we want to set that to 444, which is like a light gray, 3 pixels, and solid. So let's save that and see what that looks like. Okay, so now you can see everything is, actually the padding doesn't seem to have worked. Let me just check real quick with the Chrome tools here. And let's see what we got for, let's see, A tag, 0.5 rem. You know what, let's add the important flag to the padding here. And important, just, it makes it take effect over other styles. Okay, so now they're more spread out, and you can notice that the active tab has the little very faint border to the left of it. Okay, so that's the effect that I want. All right, so let's move on to the carousel. Now this carousel is going to use background images, which is different from what we did in the Sandbox. In the Sandbox, we just used inline images, but now we're going to use basically content with background images in the CSS. So we'll go under the nav, and let's say showcase slider, or carousel, whatever you want to call it. So I'll say section, I'll give it an ID of showcase, and in here we're going to add our carousel markup. Now we want to give it an ID. I'm just going to call it my carousel, and let's give it a class of carousel, and let's give it a class of slide. And carousels take an extra attribute here of data dash ride, and we want to set that equal to carousel. Okay, and then inside this div, we want our indicators. Remember in the Sandbox, we looked at the indicators and the arrows and stuff like that. The indicators are actually an OL, they're an ordered list tag, and we want to give it a class of carousel dash indicators. Oops, dash indicators. And we'll have some LIs here. And the LIs, they're going to have, the only one that's going to have a class is the first one, because I want it to be active. So it's going to have a class of active, but it's going to have some other stuff attached to it. We need to have a data target. And the data target is going to be the ID of the carousel. So we want to put a hash my carousel. And I know sometimes they call this a hash or sometimes a number sign, or I think I even called it a sharp, but you know what I mean. And then we want to put basically what slide should this one go to. So we want to say data dash slide dash 2, and for that we want to set that to 0, okay, which will be the first one. And we actually don't need a space in here because we're not going to put any content in here. These are just the indicators. So let's just copy this down 2 more times and then just set this one to 1, this one to 2, and remove the class of active for these 2. We only want that on the first one. So that should be all set for the indicators. Now under the OL is where we want to put our carousel inner class. So carousel inner. And inside here is where we want to put our carousel items. So we want carousel dash item. We're also going to give this a class of carousel dash image dash 1. Now this is not a Bootstrap class. This is just what we're going to grab onto to add the background image. Okay, and we also want to make this one active, so we want to add a class of active. And inside here, let's put a container so that everything inside is pushed towards the middle. And we want captions, so we're going to put a class of carousel dash caption. Now the captions I only want to display on screens that are not the smallest screen, so basically like the extra small, the cell phone type screen. We won't have the captions, we'll just have the images. So we're going to add a class of dNone, which by default will just display none, but then we're going to say display on small screens and up as a block. So actually show it if it's small or bigger. And then I want to align everything to the right, so I'm going to say text right, and I'm going to add a margin bottom 5 class. Okay, and then inside here we'll have an H1. Let's give this a display. We'll do display dash 3, so it'll be a nice big heading, and we're just going to say heading 1. And then under that we'll do a lead paragraph, and I'll say lorem, let's do lorem 20. And underneath the paragraph, let's put an A tag. It's going to be formatted as a button, so we'll say button. Let's make it red. It's kind of a black and red theme, so we'll do button danger. And then let's make it large as well, so BTN LG. And it's just going to go nowhere. And then the text will just say, let's do sign up now. So now what we want to do is we want another carousel item. So we want to, inside the carousel inner div, we have the item which ends here. So I'm just going to copy that and just copy it and paste it here. And then one more, so we're going to have 3. So the second one here, we want to change this carousel image 1 to carousel image 2 because that's what we're going to grab onto in the CSS to put our image in. And then let's just change this to heading 2. And let's see, there's something else I want to change here. So let's see, the alignment, where we have text right for the first one, which is on the carousel caption. So let's actually take that off of the next one because I don't want the second one to be text right. So we'll remove that, and let's also change the text here. We'll just say learn more. More. And let's change the color of the button as well. We'll do button primary, just for fun. And then this last one here, we obviously want to change this to image 3 because it's going to be a different image. And then let's add text, or we'll keep text right on the caption for this one. So basically just the middle one won't be text right. And then we'll change the heading to heading 3. And let's change the text to we'll just say learn more, I guess. So the first one will be the sign up, and then we have the learn mores. And we can change the color of the button to make it a little more colorful. We'll do success this time. Okay, so if we save this and we look at it, it's going to look very strange. You can see the indicators are actually in the nav bar. So what we want to do is we want to add a height to our carousel. So we're going to go to our CSS, and we're actually adding the height to the carousel items. So the class of carousel item, and we're going to give it a height of 450 pixels. And then we want to do each background image. So remember, we have the carousel, not carousel item, we want carousel image 1. And we're going to give this a background, and it's going to be a URL. And it's going to be, we're going to go back into the image folder, and then we want image1.jpg. Okay, and then I just want to set the background size to cover. Okay, so what we can do is just take this and paste it in 2 more times, and just change this to 2, change this to 2, change this to 3, and change this to 3. And let's go ahead and save that. So now if we look, you can see that they're all stacked on top of each other. And this is definitely not what we want. So I think that I kept them all, they're all active. Okay, we only want one of these to be active, the first one. So we just want to remove the active class from the second 2, and hopefully that should work. So let's go back, and there we go. Now we have our indicators, and we can do our sliding. Okay, so we have a nice background images. The middle one is the one that's centered, and then the other ones are aligned to the right. We do want to have some arrows here. Okay, so let's add those. So we'll go back, and we want to go under the carousel inner, okay, which is this div here. So that ends right here. So you should have one div below, and then the section, and that's where we want to put our buttons or our links. So let's put an A tag with the class of carousel-control-prev. This will be the previous. The href should go to the name, the ID of the carousel, which is my carousel. And then we want data slide to be prev, because this is the previous. Inside here, we want our little arrow icon, so it's going to be a span with the class of carousel-control-prev-icon, and that'll give us the icon. Now what we can do is just copy this and paste it below, and then this is going to be the next, so we'll change the data slide to next. We'll change the class here to next, and let's change the icon to the next. And let's save and go back, and now we have our arrows. Okay, so let's test the responsiveness. If we make this smaller, once it gets to under small, like really small, mobile view, you'll see that the text disappears, and it's just the images. And I want that effect because the text looks all mushed if we don't do that. Let's see, so this doesn't seem to be working. Let me just check. Okay, so we're not getting any errors. So I probably have a mistake somewhere up here. Let's see. So we have a button class, navbar toggler. The data target is navbar collapse. And the reason that it's not working is because we should have a hash here. So let's try that. And there we go. So now our responsive menu works. Good. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. In the next video, I want to take care of basically the home icons and the heading and info sections. And just to show you what I mean real quick, let's take a look at finished product. And I'm talking about this part right here. So we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and also maybe this part. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how far we'll get in the next video, but we're going to start on this first. Okay, so I will see you in the next one.